All right, so let's talk a little bit about how to take advice, because the thing is that I've been, to various art communities, and one of the things I actually enjoy when I go to an art community is to go there and not tell them who I am. Like, go to a completely new art community and just not even say I'm a teacher, or don't even talk about my YouTube channel. Just essentially go there as like I play the fool. I play the fool, right? Playing the fool is actually kind of fun. I don't like to go there and flex. However, what happens is if somebody asks a question, or if I discover something, then I'll usually start explaining. And invariably, there's going to be somebody in there who's going to have something to say. And by and large, like, I get people who say things like, "Oh, you're overthinking this," and "Oh, you're making it sound too complex," and whatnot. And then usually, like, whenever I go to one of these communities, it's like a Discord community, and one of the things you can do when you search is you can always do something like, in the search field, you can say something like "from" and then colon and then the name of the person, or the user's tag, and then so you can say "from this person has colon image," so you can find all the images that this person has posted. And by and large, actually, every single time, invariably, they have posted no images. So, one thing I want to say is that when you're offering advice, whenever I offer advice, I always have imagery to back it up. Right? So it's like, and this is just something that should go. It should just be a rule of thumb. Like, whenever you see on the internet and you see people talking on YouTube and they talk about like the concept of debating, right? You have to be able, you can't just say, "Oh, everybody knows this thing," and then take everything as a given. Like, you actually go and you go through the trouble of explaining something to people. Like, if you want to win in a debate, or if you want to bring someone over to your side, the price of that is having to explain to the other person your side, right? You have to explain your point of view to somebody who doesn't share your point of view. And then, oftentimes you got to provide sources, or you have to provide proof or evidence. And that's something that should be, well, I don't think that drawing should be any exception to that. So if somebody is going to offer advice, they better be able to back it up. And that means, and another thing I want to say is, doesn't matter who the advice comes from or where you heard that advice. It could come from Loomis, could come from, Craig Mullins, could come from Kim Jong-gi, right? Could come from me, right? It doesn't matter who the advice comes from. The question is, if you're going to use that advice, can you do it? Can you prove it? And I think that if you can't do a thing, you don't know a thing. It's like, if there's this particular piece of advice regarding, how to do a thing, if you can't demonstrate it, if you can't perform it right in front of people, then sorry, you can't do it. You don't know it, and you can't prove it. And so, it just means, it doesn't mean that you're wrong, but it means that, that you haven't given anything to convince me, that I'm right, that you're right. So that's the thing. You've got to be able to prove it. And this is why you should do exercises. Why, whenever if I offer you something and you want to be able to tell people that you want to share this information to them, if you want to help spread what I teach, then you should be able to do it too. You should train yourself so that you're able to do it. Because every time you go to a new community or whatever, you're going to run into people who are going to, they're going to contest you. But by and large, every time they contest me, they've got nothing to back it up. But I can come along and I can doodle something out really, really fast, and I can prove my point with my doodle, right? I can draw like a really crappy little doodle in a few minutes to prove, what it is that I'm trying to teach or trying to explain. So, this is a really important thing whenever you're offering, and if you're giving advice and if you're taking it as well, is that if somebody tells you you should do a thing a certain way, and this is what, well, then you have to be able to say, well, do you have any proof? Do you have any work that demonstrates what it is that you're telling me? Sorry, it's like, I mean, if I'm going to go through the trouble of practicing, you better be able to prove it, right? And that's just how it should be. Another thing I want to say is that a lot of the people that I run into are very, very strong-minded about their opinions. So am I. But at least I try to prove what it is that I do. There's one thing I also want to say, and that is that right now I'm in a place, right? We're all in a place. And we're all in our own places, our own different places. Right now I'm in a place where I really like the artwork and I like the process. I actually like the doing of the art. Not just the art, I actually enjoy the doing of the art. I like the way the art is made. That's something really important, right? People say, oh, they want to be able to make nice art. But I want to make nice art as often as I can. I want to be able to enjoy the process of making that art. And many times before, I have emulated other art styles. I've looked at other artists and I'm like, oh man, that looks really cool. I really like the style that they've got. And with my own tools, I found a way to reverse engineer their way of working, and I found a way to get the same look they got, but using my own process. And so it means that I went to their destination. I traveled to their destination. I traveled to where they were. And some of these artists, some of their styles, some of the things that I learned, some of them I actually enjoyed it. I liked the process and it stuck. But the vast majority of them I didn't like. I liked what came out of it, but I didn't like the process. I didn't like the final result. Like I liked the final result, but I didn't like the journey. And so it didn't stick. Right? And there's a reason why this is important, because if you're going to do something day in and day out and you want to do it again and again and again, well then if you want to do lots of it, you should be able to sustain it. You should be able to enjoy the process. If you enjoy the process, you'll do more of it. You can't force yourself to do something you hate all the time. You can do it maybe once or twice, right? But after a while, the trauma of the doing is going to be, I don't want to do it, right? That's just how it is. We can't really force ourselves up to a point, but not for long term, not as a way of life. We can't force ourselves to change, to do something we absolutely hate forever. We have to want the outcome, and we have to want the outcome badly enough to suffer the journey to get there. So that's the thing, right? Is that we all have different destinations that we'd like to get to. And when we look at artists who are doing really, really nice art, we can say that they're in a destination, and maybe we want to get to where they are, and we have to all embark on our own little journeys to find out where they, how to get to where they are. And whenever someone's offering advice, whenever I offer advice, I am offering you the advice to take you on the same path, or to take you on what I think is the shortest path to get to where I am. And that might not be a journey that you want to take. That might not be a journey that you're fit to take. Okay, that's another thing. Yeah, I'm gonna. All right, there's some people are not going to be fit to take the journey. It's like climbing. It's like sometimes if you have to get up to a certain point, and you got to climb a slope, maybe you don't have the reach to get all the handholds on the way. Like I've done mountain climbing before, like indoor mountain climbing, and I know there are some courses which I just am not suited for. So maybe there's an underhang that's just too steep. So you got to find another route. So sometimes you have to practice. Maybe through practicing some things, you can build yourself up to the point where you can do it. And sometimes it just never clicks, and you just have to find another way. All right. So that's why sometimes, people need to be flexible. You got to be flexible by finding, a route that works for you. Kind of funny. Now I'm drawing, I seem to be drawing this kind of a path, like a path through a canyon, some kind of rocky path through a canyon, in some mountain canyon. Kind of ironic. So everyone's got their own destinations, and everyone's got their own journey to get there. And so if someone is going to be really, really pushy when it comes to the advice, you just, I think a nice way of saying no is, you know, I have a place that I'd like to get. Could you show me some work that you do? And then if you look at the art that they're doing and it's not where you want to go, they're not talking from a place where you want to go to. If they haven't been there, they can't give you the directions, right? So you got to be able to say, look, that's not the kind of art that I want to make, and any advice that you're giving me is going to help, is only going to bring me closer to the art that you want to make, but it's not the art that I want to make, right? So, there's more than one proper destination, because I can like a variety of artwork, which means that to me there are many viable destinations, and sometimes there are multiple paths to get there. And that's what it comes to when it comes to taking advice, is that take advice from people who've been to where you want to go. They have to have been there so they can give you the directions.